What's up, everybody? Eric Secondary Machine. Today I'm out in the shop getting ready to jump in and start the process of painting this little 9A lathe. As you can see, after yesterday's video, I did go ahead and I pulled the spindle out of this head. I hadn't had the spindle out of this one yet, and so, like I was saying in the last video, that's really where the rubber meets the road when you buy one of these lathes, because you don't really know what you're going to get until you pull the spindle out. As you can see, the bearing surfaces on this head are in really nice shape, which is always a real pleasure to find. The spindle is also in good shape, so we're all good there. You know, if I was to find something that was in as bad a shape as this thing here, you know, this head would actually really be considered cooked. Luckily, I've got an extra one. You know, that I could actually make this go again if I had to, but I'm glad to see that I don't have to. So anyway, what I'm going to jump into now is just getting everything degreased. Is really the first step in preparing to paint one of these. I've been buying this degreaser here from the Harbor Freight for a couple of years. I stopped buying the purple stuff from Zepp. This is a few bucks cheaper, but I don't think it's quite as good. So it's been a few years since I've bought this. I went ahead and bought this for this particular time through, just thinking, you know, I would like to see back to back, because I really know what that's capable of, because I've been running it for a few years. So it'll be interesting to see how this compares to this. So you can see I'm set up with one of these turkey basting pans. A little bit of the Zepp, hardly anything, with some super hot water, basically as hot as I can get it to come out of the tap, mixed up there. You can see I got some different ways to clean. I've got a little toothbrush here someplace. Don't know what I did with it, but I got this scrubber, a couple of these scrubbers here. These, you could go with regular dish gloves. You don't want to bathe in this, or at least I don't want to bathe in it, so I'm going to wear gloves. These tall gloves that come all the way up your armpits are available at the Harbor Freight also. I really like these. Although, if you use a regular dish glove, your dexterity will probably be a bit better. Normally, I would leave the lathe basically together and spray it down really good with a spray bottle with really hot water and degreaser, and kind of basically degrease it in place first. This time I'm going to try something a little bit different. Basically, I'm going to pull major components off and just kind of degrease it that way. One of the main keys to this is really getting everything rinsed really well. Another good pointer is that the flash rusting situation is going to happen relatively quickly. Something I like to do after I get the pieces out and I have them really well rinsed in hot water is to, I've got a box fan that I like to use to dry everything down. And so that really can help a lot with controlling the flash rust. The flash rust really isn't that big of a deal, but the main thing is just to get most of the grit and grime and grease off of these parts and get them ready to paint. One thing that's nice about working with oil paint is that it's a lot more tolerant of the pieces maybe not being perfectly clean and devoid of the grime. This is actually like, I mean, that had a really thick coating on it, and it's just coming right off, which is nice. And so I'll probably, you know, after I get this stuff, the main components degreased, I'll probably to some degree break things down a little bit further, like as I'm going through to put all the new felts and wicks into the machine. I may break things down a little bit further and do a little more degreasing, but my main thing today is just to get the machine basically cleaned up and ready to go for paint. And then some of the components we will paint separate from the machine. Other components we will paint reassembled and in place. So I guess for now my main thing is just to work my way through. I mean, that just looks just 1,000% better than what it did when it went in. Let's do this. Look at how much grime is on this. I mean, like, that is thick. That's like 1/8 of an inch thick almost. I will occasionally go through, I mean, it just takes it right off. It's pretty amazing stuff. I will occasionally go through and change out this water. And freshen it up a bit as needed. But I'll probably be able to do a lot of this with just one pan. The main thing, like I said already, is just making sure to try to make sure that you get it really, really well rinsed before you paint anything, and really dry. Obviously, oil paint and water are not going to be a good combination. So, man, it just, without even any clean water rinse, it just makes such a difference. This brush, actually, I think this is a small toilet brush, actually. I was looking around for stuff to do this with, and I found this in a cabinet out in the other shop. And I'm glad I found this, because this brush is actually working really well. A lot of times I do this sort of stuff with just like this blue scrubby type of a deal. I've seen some guys that like to, before they paint a lathe, they'll jump in with the oven cleaner and really try to strip the old paint off. You know, the only way I think I would ever find myself in a position where I wanted to do it that way, I think, is if somebody had previously, apart from the factory finish, like if somebody had painted this lathe already a couple of times or something, it had a bunch of sags and drips and was just really thick or what have you. If there was a reason like that, maybe, to feel like, you know, there was a reason to try to strip it, maybe I would do it that way. But the factory finish on this isn't, I mean, it's not in good shape or anything, but it's fairly flat. It doesn't have drips and stuff on it. As long as it's clean, that oil-based paint will go right over this and it will look really good. I just feel like getting into the oven cleaner and getting all anal and trying to strip this down is just pretty far beyond what's really necessary to do a good job. I realize some guys, you know, like if you really want to do like a super anal full like restoration on a tool, yeah, I could dig it. Like that might be the way to go for it. That's just not really me. For me, I think that what I'm after most of the time is I want the functionality. I want it to look good and I want it to function even better, right? Having a nice looking functional tool is great. But, you know, Beauty Queen, not really so much for me. I just don't feel like it's necessary. It's going to get scratched up. It's in my shop. I'm going to use it, right? That's what I'm about, is I just want it to run well and look acceptable, you know? Breathing some new life into something. I'm going to guess this machine is probably from like the early 50s. And it's clear that it's never been painted before or anything. This is all factory finish. It's going to be really nice to get to breathe some new life into this tool and see it look good again after all those years. And to have all the new wicks and everything in it to make it function like new is really pretty rewarding. It's definitely a process that I enjoy. You know, the truth is I have no intention of keeping this particular lathe. Now that I found another 10K, maybe I would possibly keep it. I don't know. But for me, a lot of it is just that I enjoy the process. I just like messing around with the tools and making them look good again. And I do sell them off back down the road. I don't really like the word flipper. Like, I don't feel like I flip tools. Honestly, if you were to take into account the amount of time and energy that I put into this, I'm not really necessarily, yeah, I guess technically, yeah, I will make a few bucks off of it, but if you take into account the amount of time I'm going to put into it, like, what am I making, like $5 an hour maybe? I guess my overall point is, the money isn't really what it's about for me. I just enjoy the process. I enjoy doing it. It's rewarding to take something like this and breathe new life into it and make it look good again, make it functional again, and then somebody else. And you know, I have to keep in mind that restoring something like this isn't for everybody else. You know, not everybody is going to have that kind of time at their disposal. You know, there's people out there that would like to have this tool fully refreshed and ready to run and don't mind paying a few bucks for it. You know what I mean? In terms of the time and energy I put into this, I think they come out ahead for sure. And yeah, I'll make a few bucks off of it, which can, you know, I can spend that money on the next tool, or, you know, some tooling for the shop or what have you. But it's not something where, you know, I'm going to turn a living off of it. It's just a hobby where I can also make a buck or two, which is cool. So anyway, I'm going to continue on with degreasing this machine, and I think probably part 2 will probably be maybe me showing kind of how this looks prepared and ready to go for the paint. So anyway, check back in with me, guys.